Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're announcing today the results of Project Python, a multilateral interagency operation targeting the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, also known as CJNG. This operation was led by the DEA, and on behalf of the department, I want to thank Acting Administrator Dhillon for his strong leadership in the fight against transnational organized crime. And I want to express my appreciation for the courageous law enforcement professionals at the DEA, the men and women who day in and day out put their lives on the line to shield us and our families and our communities from dangerous drugs and the violent activities of the organizations that traffic in these substances. As you all know, the DEA is dedicated to taking down the most dangerous and destructive cartels in the world. Its brave agents work tirelessly to disrupt and dismantle criminal drug trafficking syndicates, to reduce the availability of drugs, to ensure that the places where we live, work, and raise our families are safe and secure. Project Python began on September 1st, 2019, and it culminates in today's announcement. As Acting Administrator Dhillon will describe in more detail, Project Python was unprecedented in both scale and complexity. The DEA, through its Special Operations Division, coordinated and deconflicted more than 350 field investigations to investigate and identify the global networks controlled by CJNG. This entailed not simply the management of investigative activities, but also the careful coordination and synchronizing of domestic and international law enforcement operations. More than 100 investigations will now form the initial target deck for Project Python. And we will continue to investigate and analyze the roles that these individuals play in CJNG to identify and map out the cartel's logistical nodes and pathways and to link investigations and prosecutions. Project Python marks the most comprehensive action to date in the Department of Justice's campaign to disrupt, dismantle, and ultimately destroy CJNG. CJNG is one of the most dangerous transnational criminal organizations in the world. The cartel has its hands in trafficking multiple deadly substances. It's responsible for moving tons of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl-laced heroin into the United States and elsewhere around the globe. It's also a prolific methamphetamine producer and chemical importer using precursors procured from China and India. It also produces its own precursors and recruits chemists and experienced cooks to its operations, further expanding the reach of the fentanyl and heroin production and distribution operations of the gang. According to DEA's intelligence, CJNG runs major methamphetamine labs in Mexico and continues to increase its presence along the southwest border. And with primary drug distribution hubs in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Houston, and Atlanta, CJNG is one of the most powerful Mexican cartels operating within the United States. At the same time, CJNG has contributed to a catastrophic trail of human and physical destruction in Mexico. It's the most well-armed cartel in that country. Its members willingly confront rival drug organizations and even the security forces of the Mexican government. CJNG is responsible for grisly acts of violence and loss of life there and in the United States. That is why when President Trump signed an executive order prioritizing the dismantlement of transnational criminal organizations, the Department of Justice answered the call and took direct aim at CJNG. We deemed CJNG to be one of the highest priority transnational organized crime threats we face here in the United States. And with Project Python, we're delivering results in the face of the threat for the American people. Back in 2018, the department announced 15 indictments against CJNG leaders, financiers, transporters, and sources of drug supply. One of those indictments was of Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, also known as Menchito, the son of CJNG's undisputed leader, and he's now facing trial here in federal court in Washington, D.C. Project Python shows that with close cooperation and clarity of mission, we can take the fight to one of the largest and most dangerous drug cartels on the planet. The Criminal Division is proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with the men and women of the DEA, our state and local law enforcement counterparts, as well as the United States Attorney's offices around the country in this critical operation. Thank you, and I want to turn the podium over now to Acting Administrator Dhillon to talk in further detail about the operation.
Thank you, Assistant Attorney General Benczkowski, for your support and kind words, and I want to thank everyone for being here this afternoon. Today, we announced the completion of the first phase of Project Python, a coordinated, targeted effort to disrupt and ultimately dismantle the Cartel de Jalisco New Generación, also known as CJNG. I am joined here today by DEA's Chief of Operations, Chris Evans, and Special Agent in charge of DEA's Special Operations Division, Wendy Wilcock. They've been instrumental in organizing and executing this important operation. Thank you both. In the last decade, CJNG has rapidly emerged as one of the world's most dangerous drug trafficking organizations. Its rise was marked by extreme violence and intimidation against the general public, law enforcement, and rival cartels in Mexico. Today, it operates in major cities throughout the United States, in at least 22 of 32 Mexican states, and numerous countries worldwide. In 2015, the Mexican government declared CJNG one of the most powerful cartels in Mexico. The following year, the U.S. Treasury Department named CJNG as one of the most prolific and violent criminal organizations in the world. And in 2018, the Attorney General designated CJNG as one of the top transnational organized crime threats to the United States. While CJNG traffics in multiple types of illegal drugs, it is especially active in manufacturing and distributing cheap, pure, and deadly methamphetamine. In addition to drug trafficking, CJNG engages in a wide range of other criminal activity, including money laundering, bribery, weapons trafficking, and corruption. They are heavily armed and routinely engage in acts of violence. For example, in 2015, CJNG used rocket-propelled grenades to shoot down a military Mexican helicopter, killing 9 people. In response to this threat, DEA initiated Project Python, a 6-month operation focused on degrading CJNG and its drug trafficking networks worldwide. This targeted enforcement encompassed DEA investigations all over the world and leveraged our elite Special Operations Division to gather and coordinate intelligence and ultimately arrest CJNG leaders, members, and facilitators. Project Python is the single largest strike against CJNG to date, but it's only the beginning of our efforts to destroy this dangerous criminal organization. DEA has secured a superseding indictment against CJNG's undisputed leader, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho. Last month, El Mencho's son, the former second in command of CJNG, was extradited from Mexico to the United States for allegations of drug trafficking and firearm use in furtherance of drug trafficking. And just 2 weeks ago, El Mencho's daughter, one of CJNG's primary money launderers, was arrested in the United States for alleged violations of the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act. These arrests punctuate the many other arrests of mid- and high-level CJNG members since Project Python began. During the course of this 6-month operation, DEA has arrested over 700 subjects associated with CJNG, seized more than 20,000 kilograms of drugs, including over 15,000 kilograms of methamphetamine, and over $22 million worth of money and assets, of which over $20 million was in cash. Of that number, this morning alone, in coordinated law enforcement efforts across the country, DEA executed over 100 search warrants, arrested over 250 CJNG targets, and seized almost 600 kilograms of drugs and more than $1.7 million in money and assets. These enforcement actions are the result of nearly 370 investigations encompassing virtually all of DEA's domestic field divisions. We are also working closely with our partners at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to help stem the flow of firearms to Mexico. For example, on February 19th, DEA and ATF agents in California executed a joint operation against known CJNG members seeking to purchase 200 assault rifles, explosives, and other heavy weaponry in furtherance of their deadly activities. Project Python also complements other actions targeting CJNG's leadership. The Treasury Department has designated CJNG's leader, El Mencho, as a drug kingpin, and the State Department is offering a $10 million reward for information leading to his arrest. And just today, Treasury designated 4 more businesses in Mexico associated with CJNG. This operation is one of the largest concentrated actions against a single criminal organization in many years and underscores DOJ and DEA's commitment to protecting the American people. By removing mid- and high-level members, we inhibit CJNG's ability to regenerate and to continue to threaten our communities and neighborhoods with their deadly drugs. DEA will use the information and intelligence generated from Project Python to continue our relentless attack against CJNG and its threat to the health and safety of all Americans. DEA will never stop until this dangerous drug trafficking organization is completely destroyed. And with that, we're available for any questions you may have. Yes, sir.
El Mencho is not a household name here in the U.S. How does he stack up against El Chapo?
Well, CJNG is one of the most dangerous drug trafficking organizations in the world. He's the leader of one of the most dangerous drug trafficking organizations in the world. El Chapo's in custody, so El Mencho is one of our highest priorities to bring to U.S. justice.
Can you put into numbers the amount of drugs they're responsible for moving into the U.S.? Is a part of all the cartels in terms of what flows into the U.S.? What percentage are they responsible for?
I don't know that we attach a percentage to the amounts. Let me put it to you this way. They are one of the most prolific drug trafficking organizations in the world. They have over 100 methamphetamine labs in Mexico, and this country is being flooded with methamphetamine. They're a polydrug organization, which means they're importing into the United States methamphetamine, cocaine, fentanyl, heroin, and marijuana. So they are fully engaged in drug trafficking on a global scale.
Alex Battle, ABC News. Can you characterize what this operation will do in terms of how it disrupts their capabilities and what it did to the organization? I mean, is this a dent? Is this a bruise? I mean, how would you characterize it?
Well, I would say that when you take out over 700 individuals, members and affiliates of CJNG in the United States, you're making a significant impact. Also, remember, we're going after mid-level to upper-level folks. We're making it very difficult for them to immediately regenerate, which is one of the big problems with drug trafficking organizations. So we're not just attacking the kingpins or the high-level folks, we're going down to the mid-level folks. So we anticipate that this will have a significant impact. Moreover, this is just phase 1 of Project Python. We executed over 100 search warrants this morning. We've arrested over 250 people this morning. What that means is we're going to be collecting intelligence and going into phase 2. This attack will continue and it will be relentless. Yes, ma'am.
Sarah Lynch with Reuters. I wanted to ask about fentanyl. I know that with the emergency order in the U.S. and in China, that there's been sort of a reduction in the amount of fentanyl and fentanyl analogs that have been coming here, but there's been talk that a lot of them have been starting to pop up from Mexico. To what extent do you think this organization is responsible for bringing in analogs from Mexico now that we're seeing fewer coming from China?
Look, all of these drug trafficking organizations in Mexico are polydrug organizations. There's no doubt that CJNG is also involved in moving fentanyl. We are very cognizant of the issues with respect to manufacturing fentanyl and counterfeit pharmaceuticals in Mexico, and we're seeing that from Mexico and these drug trafficking organizations. Yes, sir.
The president has suggested designating cartels as foreign terror organizations through the State Department. Do you support that designation? Do you believe that CJNG is a terrorist organization?
Well, I'm not going to go to discuss operational issues or any operational changes with regard to criminal organizations. I will say this. Today, we arrested over 750, domestically, 750 CJNG members and associates. So I think that that's a significant operation, and we've made a serious dent in CJNG's ability to operate in the U.S. Yes, sir.
Can you say what specifically these 750 people, particularly the 250 you arrested today, did? Like, what crimes are they charged with? What was their role in the organization? And then what percentage of the organization do they sort of represent? Like, how many else are there like them still in the United States operating?
So there's hundreds of indictments, so I can't give you a specific, but I can tell you they're all generally charged with drug trafficking crimes, federal drug trafficking crimes. Their levels range, and that's very important. I mean, anybody who's affiliated with CJNG that we were able to bring charges against, we brought against. So you'll have members who are part of the infrastructure, who are part of the command and control structure of CJNG, and then you'll have individuals who are more peripherally involved. Remember, drugs are distributed at a local level by gangs, so there's a command and control structure that goes from the very top to the very street level dealer. We're aiming for mid-level and high-level folks, because if you destroy that command and control structure, you make it very difficult for a cartel like CJNG to operate in the United States.
250 arrested today, but 750 overall, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir. That's right.
And 600 pounds of meth today?
I believe so. Yes, sir. No. Overall drugs today, 600 kilograms of drugs today. Overall, 20,000 kilograms of drugs over the 6-month operation, with about 15,000 kilos of methamphetamine.
Billion or million?
Million.
Okay.
Today, with an overall seizure of over 20 million over the 6 months. Yes, sir.
Hi, Josh Gerstein with Politico. Back in 2018, Attorney General Sessions indicated that the department was going to consider bringing capital death penalty charges against drug kingpins. Are any of the cases that you've indicted here charged as capital cases, and if not, why not?
We're not aware of any, and I would just say that at this point, given that individuals have just been arrested, there's a process within the Department of Justice to make that decision, and I'm confident that process hasn't even begun.
Just to put this in perspective, this cartel, has U.S. law enforcement ever faced a cartel with this much influence, this much reach, as it relates to drug distribution across the country?
Well, let's just say this. Today we are facing an overdose crisis. Our numbers have gone down. The good news is in the last year we've seen a decrease in overdose deaths in the United States, but the numbers have been shockingly high, and that's because we are facing a global drug trafficking organizations. And CJNG is one of those global organizations. And the challenge they present is that they have networks and the ability to function in many parts of the world. Today, we're attacking them domestically with these arrests, but they are a significant drug trafficking organization, a global one, and which is why we initiated Project Python.
Administrator, can you speak to the DEA's hiring practices? Obviously, there have been indictments of former agents recently. There are reports today that another ASAC may have been wiretapped by the Justice Department. Has the DEA changed any of its hiring practices in looking for potential issues with backgrounds of any of the folks within the agency in light of the charges specifically against Jose Irizarry?
I'm not going to talk about any specific personnel matters or ongoing criminal cases. I'll just say this. DEA has the highest standards for hiring. We have the best men and women in law enforcement. I think today's case demonstrates how really outstanding our ability is to do a nationwide takedown of this magnitude.
Can you characterize where the arrests were made this morning primarily?
They were actually, this map that's up here is sort of a heat map that shows the location of the arrests. That gives you an idea of where the majority of the arrests occurred. Yes, ma'am.
Were those arrested Mexican nationals, or were there a lot of American citizens as well?
I don't know the answer to that, but DEA goes after drug traffickers regardless of any of those characteristics. If you're a drug trafficker, you can expect DEA to find you and arrest you and bring you to justice. Yes, sir.
My question's kind of for Assistant Attorney General Benczkowski. The Attorney General went to Mexico, I think, late last year, and it was reported that he expressed concern that the Mexicans weren't doing enough to curtail violence in Mexico. Is he more satisfied now that many people have been extradited? What is his current thinking on what's going on?
I'm not going to put words in the mouth of the Attorney General. I will say that we currently enjoy a strong and productive relationship with our Mexican counterparts. based on, I think, what I would characterize as our mutual respect and mutual concerns about the impact of drug trafficking both in the United States and in Mexico. And it's our hope that that will continue.
Yes, sir.
If there are concerns about how much Mexico is doing to try to crack down on this cartel as well as others, how much is something like this operation, Project Python, going to do to actually address this crisis and this problem if these cartels continue to operate with a great deal of impunity in Mexico?
Look, these cartels have to have an infrastructure to distribute the drugs in the United States. Today, we attack that infrastructure in the United States. We are working with our global partners. DEA is in 69 countries throughout the world. So we attack drug trafficking globally. These are global drug trafficking organizations. They're not just going into the United States. CJNG has connections in Central America, South America, and Europe. And we're fighting them every place they're at. Thank you.